everybody, thank you for joining me today. So today's video is going to be this sketch here. It's part of our Scrapbooking with Me weekend challenge. It was not this past weekend, but the first weekend in May. And I'm sorry it's taking me a little bit to get it put up, but it's going to be worth it. All right, so I'm first stamping onto some vellum paper. There's some leaves that I have in a waffle flower stamp set that I have. And I'm going to basically do a quick heat emboss. I use the Versamark ink. I'm sprinkling some gold embossing powder, and then I'm going to heat it up. The good thing is on vellum, it doesn't take long for it to melt. But the important thing is get your heat tool hot, start from behind, and then heat it up on the front. And it takes like seconds. Now I'm going to flip it over, get another spot ready, and we're going to stamp them again because I wanted 2 of each. That way I make sure I have enough to make like a cluster on my layout. All right. So now that that's done, I'm going to pour that back in so that way I don't make a mess. And then we'll go ahead and heat that up. And there we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the matching die set to cut these pieces out. And I'm just going to use some purple tape to kind of hold it down. And then I'm also going to get my Gemini Go. It's the small one. And we're going to go ahead and get these cut out. I already did one set, so I was just going to show you real quick putting it through for the second set. And I let it go. And like I said, I'm doing this on top of my Tim Holtz mat, so I do put my hand back there to kind of grab it as it's released. So that way it doesn't like just crush down on my glass mat. And then I'm just putting it back in my little carry case. And I put my what am I talking about? My plates in as well to keep them all together. That way I don't worry about losing any pieces. All right, so now I'm going to take those off, throw that little piece away, and then put my metal dies to the side. So this is what we're looking at. I'm using this paper, which is already, it's really pretty. And my picture is going to be a little bit bigger than the one that's in the sketch itself, but I didn't get a chance to really size it down, and it's one that I had on my desk that I was like, you know what, I'm just going to use this one. So what, it's a little bit bigger. It'll be okay. I can do the sketch again down the road and use a smaller photo to make it look a little bit more like the actual sketch. But a lot of times, that's what sketches are for. It's just to inspire you and to let you create and, you know, be like a jumping off point. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be so literal. So feel free, jump in. If you want to change something, change it. Put it on its side. Do it horizontal. Whatever you are moved to do. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I want to treat my paper because I do want to do a little bit of mixed media on this paper. So I'm going to take some clear gesso and one of my bigger brushes, and I'm just going to spread it all over the entire paper. And it is going to make it do this little like curl up thing. For me, it doesn't bother me because I just have fun creating, and eventually it's probably going to just go into a book and it'll be all right. You know what I mean? It'll go into a protective sleeve and I'm not going to worry about it. I kept getting this weird dust thing on my paper, so you're going to see me like kind of scraping or scratching at my paper, and I just don't understand where these little flakes were coming from. There's another one. It was almost like it was catching like almost like embossing powder or something that I might have left on my table, and it kept spreading, but I was like, it's okay because I'm doing mixed media. If it was something where I wanted it to stay like a complete white, this would have been upsetting, and I probably would have tossed it or put it to the side for another project and grabbed a new piece of paper. All right, so now I'm going to go clean my brush and clean up where I got some of the gesso on my mat. And then we'll go from there. I'm using some of the what is this called? The Mrs. Myers Clean, the rosemary scent. I love it. It's one of my favorites. So I'll just use it to wipe it up. And then, like I said, I'm going to go clean my brush, and then we'll come back, and by then we should be dry, which we are. So I decided at first I wanted to use this Heidi Swap spray that I have, and it's, I think I have the color right here. It is the Coral Color Shine, okay? When I put it down, you'll see here, because I'm going to spray it a few times once I get it unclogged, which I finally did. And at first when I was putting it down, I was like, oh my God, this is like too subtle. You know what I mean? Like it blends really into this paper. And I was thinking, okay, that's not going to work. I like the color, but it's just not going to work on this particular paper. So I decided to grab, I have some Nuvo, I want to say this is the Glacier Paste. I'm trying to look at it while I have it in front of me. Yeah, the Glacier Paste. And as soon as I find my glasses, I'll tell you what the name of the color is. Isn't that how it always works? All right. Yes, this is the Glacier Paste in the Haute Red. Like Haute Couture. Haute Red. And what I did was I just took a little bit, put it on the plastic sheeting, added a little bit of water, and then I smushed it down just like you would do any of your sprays or watercolors. And it's a little bit thicker, which I like, so it really does stand up. And any spot where you're like, I don't like the way that looks, hit it with some water. It'll be okay. It'll still have its shimmer and its shine. It'll move. And it's still, you know, it's something you can use. So don't be afraid to use some of the materials you have in your stash. If you think it's only for one way, test it out. Add a little bit of water. See what you can do with it. And maybe you can expand the choices or the options that you have. So I'm just heating this up with my heat tool. Trying to make this process go faster so that way we can get to the good part. And let me see. I'm holding it up because in some spots I can see where it's still running. Looking at it straight down now on camera, it looks like it's pretty dry, but it kept, like, spots were moving. So that's why I kept holding it up, trying to see. And then sometimes doing that helps give you a little bit of directional pull, which is nice too. So now I'm pulling out, I wound up getting the 12 by 12, was a little bit bigger than 12 by 12, Misty tool. And this allows you to use with your 12 by 12 scrapbook pages. And really you could use any page. It's just really, really big. So if you don't have a whole lot of space in your craft room and you don't have room for multiple Misties, and you don't have one and you want to get one, I would say get the 12 by 12 because you can do any size stamp paper project with it. If you're someone who is like me and you just, you know, you want them all, go ahead and get all of them. I'm sure my sweet Petunia won't mind. Okay, so I'm laying this down with the magnets. And I'm figuring out, I'm using some stamps that I have that create like that splatter look. And I have my white strip down there because I wanted to make sure where I was putting the splatters, it was going to be in the right spot. So for the splatters, I'm using Versa Claire Nocturnal ink. And we're just going to stamp that down. These are rubber stamps, so that's why I took out, I think the one thing I liked about the 12 by 12, they send you two different mats. One mat is for when you're using clear and one mat is for when you're using rubber stamps, so you still get a little bit of cushion underneath for when you're stamping, which is really nice, because a lot of times you don't need that with the rubber stamps, but it doesn't hurt, you know. And what it does is it allows for a nice, clean, crisper image while you're stamping. And the Nocturnal ink, what I like about it is it's very much like the Versamark, or not Versamark. Lord, what is? I mean, it was my favorite ink. I used it all the time. Hold on, VersaFine Black Onyx ink. They're very similar in their qualities. That's the word I'm looking for. Qualities. And it allows you to get a nice, crisp, black image without having to stamp, 20 times to get a nice dark image. And the other best part is it stays wet a little bit longer. So it allows you to be able to do this next step, which I'm going to show you. I'm going to stamp over here on the side, and then with doing the gesso, the gesso is like a protective layer. So your ink, now that it already has a property that makes it stay wet longer, but now it's sitting on top of gesso. So it takes it a while to like dry completely. So what I do is I take my clear embossing powder, and I'm going to wind up heating this up because it's just going to give it that protection, and I won't have to worry about smudges, which is fantastic. Because that's, typically if you can be smudged, you will smudge. That's the thing I've learned over the years of crafting. Okay, so now we tape up the white strip, and of course I'm going to hit it with the art glitter glue. That way it'll give me some time to, readjust and have time to put it down. And I'm laying that. Once I got it in the spot where I want it, I'm going to press down. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Sorry for the messes on the side and stuff. Just bear with me. All right. And then I decided with the paper, I could have done a black border around the photo, but I decided I wanted more of a brown. So I'm using this Desert Storm from Nina, and it's the perfect brown. I really like it. The Craft, I guess, would be the color. It's a really nice color. So I'm just measuring my photo, making sure that I allow 1/8 of an inch around my picture. And then I'm going to let the music play as I put together the layout. And then I'm going to come back once I do, I'm going to do a little bit more stamping. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, so now we're back. Everything is kind of put down where it's gonna remain. And I've decided that I wanted to figure out and lay out where I wanted my sentiment to go. Okay, and the title, I'm using a stamp set from L Studios. A friend of mine gifted it to me, my crafty bestie. And so up at the top it says, "This is mine." And I'm going to do that in the Nocturnal ink from Versaclair. And then this word story, which is the bigger word, I'm going to heat emboss in gold. So I'm just trying to be real careful with where I put my ink down at. And I took the smaller stamp set off after I did the "This is mine," which stamped perfectly. I'm treating the paper with the powder, and now we're going to heat emboss the word story. Now, here's the trick, okay? Because, I just did the Nocturnal ink, right? And I told you it stays wet longer, okay? So, I didn't wait for that to dry, and now I'm getting ready to put my gold embossing powder down. Well, thank goodness I thought to really check out what was on "This is mine," and I grabbed my brush, and there it was. It was a bunch of powder on on those words, and I was like, no, I wanted to keep those black. So I had to finagle, put a little bit more powder down on my story where I kind of brushed some of it away, and then I'm just dumping it down a different direction so that way it doesn't get back onto the "This is mine." I was like, really? And I just told you guys about how it stays wet longer, and I still sprayed put the powder down before it was even dry. Like, what was I thinking? But we worked it out. Alrighty. So "This is my story." And then I already knew that I wanted to put down my journaling underneath that. So I typed up a little just statement or thought that I had about that particular day, because people have been doing those challenges in the craft stores, like in the fake flower section, making it look like they were outside, or they're having these professional photos done. And it was kind of awkward to do it, I think, by myself. Like, you definitely helps to have someone there with you to take the photo. But this was my version, and no makeup, no extra, nothing, just took the picture, and I just wrote a little bit about that, and how it made me feel. Like, even in the regular days, like, sometimes you just gotta find the beauty, within it. And that's what I pretty much am talking about in my little journaling here. And I don't know why I never thought of this sooner. And I've seen other people do it, like Victoria Marie on YouTube and stuff like that. And I don't like my handwriting. So the best part is, if I want to journal, I should just type it up and put it on my page. And you could do it as strips. I could have just left it as one big paragraph. However, it's easiest, for you, what works best for the design that you're creating. For me, I felt like doing it in the strips was fine. And you'll see how I glue them down and stuff. Right here, I'm just trying to get it in the right order of what I was saying. And one of them I trimmed really close to the edge on the front of the wording, and I shouldn't have done that because I tried to keep all of them the same, but it's okay. I'm not going to stress about it. All right, so there's my story, and now I'm going to lay it all out right underneath. And then we'll go one by one and start laying them all down. And I just used the little tape runner I have and some arc glitter glue. No. Oh, I don't arc glitter glue. I just used the thing. Oh, I did that because this is just copier paper, so it's thinner paper, and I felt like this was enough to hold it down. I think as I go, I might add some art glitter glue, but I can't remember. It's been so long, it feels like, since I actually did this. That it's like I'm watching it for the first time while I'm doing the voiceover again. And if I left too much white space or anything like that on any of the papers, I just trim it down and then attach it, trying to keep it as evenly spaced as possible. And then, like, I put that down, I was like, oh no, that's too close. I don't know what I was thinking. But that's the benefit of using the tape runner, the little tape dispensers, because they hold, but you have time that you can pick it up and move it if you need to. And then later on, if you have any that start to pull up or do anything weird, you can always just dab it with some of the art glitter glue and it'll stay down. Like, even talking to you guys right now, I have one that's kind of lifting. So while we're doing the voiceover, I'm just going to hit it with some glue. But a lot of times, that's why I use both. I know a lot of times people will say, well, why are you using both glues? And I'll be like, well, I like the convenience of the tape runner, but it doesn't always have the strength that the glues do. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of times I do use both, and I just can't help it. All right. I would do the same thing with the washi tape too, because I wound up putting the little strips of washi tape at the top and the bottom. If they started peeling off, I would put a little bit of art glitter glue behind them. It doesn't hurt at all. You know what I mean? Because the art glitter glue is very strong, and it will hold it in place. Sorry about that. Stupid phone. It's always making noise when you're doing a voiceover, right? It never fails. Even if you say go silent. Alright, so now we're doing my favorite bit, which is the splatters. And even though the stamping splatters was there, I wanted to add just a little bit around the white paper and where the journaling was, and then a little bit in the bottom left because I had that little smudge. I just wanted to make sure like it was cohesive all over. And I'm just trying to be careful with the heat gun, making sure not to stay too long on my photo because I don't want to burn it. All right, you guys, so here are the close-ups. Thank you so much for joining me today. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and share button. You know, I definitely appreciate all the new subscribers. And I know I keep saying we are definitely going to have a giveaway because I got over 2,000 subscribers. I'm just with the work schedule and trying to stay on top of the videos. I just haven't been able to get everything together, but I promise you, if nothing else, it'll definitely happen by my birthday, which is this month of May. So just keep an eye out because you'll definitely want to participate. It's probably going to be a gift certificate, but just keep an eye out. Thanks, you guys. And I hope you have a great day.